Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to Danny's Weekend Sports Wrap for this Monday as we look at the things that happen in the world of sports over this weekend or extended weekend. And basically, a whole lot was happening outside of the realm of the thing that is most important to everybody in this area right now, which is Chiefs football, as they played their last preseason game. We'll delve into that, but certainly there's things going on around the National Football League that were far more impactful than a few very effective downs for Patrick Mahomes. Also, check in on Sporting Kansas City. Kansas City Royals with their occasional win on a Sunday, which makes them feel a little bit better as things have been miserable again for well nigh a month after their brief purple patch right after the All-Star break. And certainly the Little League World Series always raises spirits. We're not going to really talk about that, but an American team and those kids feeling great, and all the scenes that ESPN does such a great job of making it a feel-good type of thing. And anytime something good happens for people around New Orleans, it's always a good thing as they become the champions of the Little League World Series. It was Players Weekend in baseball. Certainly there's some mixed feelings about the way that's carried out, and we'll delve into that a little bit. And all kinds of other things to talk about as well, and a very, very emotional, personal story that'll relate to you as well here to talk about on the Weekend Sports Wrap. So come along with me. It's always fun to do. We'll be morphing into a full-blown football sports wrap weekend starting next Monday. Stan Weber starts to join me on Mondays to talk about college and pro football. That's next Monday. For this Monday, it's the Weekend Sports Wrap. Join me.
Before you spend your time and money going after an MBA, ask yourself why. Is it so you can tell people you got your MBA? So you can add a line to your CV? So you can call it a CV instead of a resume? Truth is, any MBA will do that. On the other hand, if your goal is to learn how to successfully manage and grow a business with real-world insights from experienced professionals, well, consider getting your MBA from Park University. Our low student-to-teacher ratio gives you personalized attention, and our face-to-face and online classes offered in 8-week terms are designed with working professionals like you in mind. No wonder the Kansas City Business Journal ranks Park University as the top MBA program in the area. Classes begin June 10th at all 4 KC area locations: Parkville, Downtown, Independence, and Lenexa. Visit park.edu to get started.
Looking for a truly unique escape from your normal entertainment or corporate team-building regimen? Stay tuned for an exclusive offer only for Reasonably Irreverent listeners. I'm excited to tell you about an extraordinary destination, the Exit Room, located in the heart of beautiful downtown Lee Summit. The Exit Room is a distinctive entertainment option that offers a cool alternative to the normal couples night out, family get-togethers, and corporate team-building events. The Exit Room is a one-of-a-kind boutique escape room catering to special occasions and corporate team-building events and is unmatched in the Kansas City metro. With 5 individually designed and varied escape room adventures, your party or employees can unplug from their electronic world, interact with one another, match wits, and ultimately escape the humdrum of the ordinary. The Exit Room adventures cross decades and centuries and create fascinating fun. I know the owners well. They are local folks, their staff is warm and friendly, their lobby is inviting and beautiful, and their adventures are award-winning. Check online. There are over 1,000 reviews, and note that they are a rare 5-star ranked business. Visit their website and Facebook page, and any of my listeners who books online at theexitroomkc.com using the promo code Clinkscale19 gets 10% off any ticket purchase. The Exit Room in Lee Summit. Unplug, interact, and escape. Get a refreshing change of your expectations of a sports bar and restaurant at the 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence. Matt Llewellyn's welcoming spot at Clinton Parkway in Cassold covers all the bases, like their own handcrafted beers and all the televisions you need for great sports viewing, but it's the large, varied, and delicious menu that stands apart. From a favorite of mine like the awesome ahi tuna appetizer to great sandwiches, outstanding pizza, and truly fantastic entrees, the 23rd Street Brewery has it all. Matt and his friendly staff make it that much more enjoyable. Food until 10, fun until late. The 23rd Street Brewery is a can't-miss stop when you are in Lawrence. Welcome back to the Sports Wrap, and one of the real calamities of the National Football League is what the fourth preseason game has become. Certainly there's arguments about what the entire preseason has become in the National Football League, but no game more shows it more clearly than the final one, which will be coming up on Thursday for the Kansas City Chiefs. As all across the league, with no cuts being made during preseason, a whole bunch of guys who basically are already cut are going to play football and pick up one more small to them, paycheck before they try to hook on with another team or find some other way of making a living while they train and hope for their chance again in the future. But the third preseason game used to be almost a full-blown dress rehearsal for a regular game. It has also dropped back in importance as far as that was concerned. In the past, all NFL teams, basically, and now most NFL teams often would use the third preseason game as well-nigh a regular football game for an entire half and then maybe into the second half as well. The Kansas City Chiefs said maybe they were going to do that, and in each preseason game, Andy Reid laid out his familiar template of what the preseason game was going to be and then really didn't carry through with it. Basically played the players that are important far less than they would ordinarily in the past, and it's more and more heading that way. And but we did get to see the most of the Chiefs' first-team offense and the most of Patrick Mahomes in that third preseason game, so the Chiefs would eventually lose the game, which is about as important as, I don't know, you pick the thing that's least important in your life, and that's about what the final score of a preseason game is, unless you're, I don't know, crazy enough, sick enough, whatever, to decide to bet on said preseason games. Anyway, Patrick Mahomes looked good. The offense looked good. He had a 125 quarterback rating for the entire preseason in his 25 or so throws. And everything that you could see from the offense, of what you could see, was roses. The Chiefs look exactly like they are going to even perhaps be better on offense if that's possible. It may not be tangibly possible in points because maybe they'll be ahead more, maybe they'll play a slower brand of football, who's to say, but they look like they can be every bit, if not more, productive this year. We, as fans, did survive the two scrambles toward the end zone by Patrick Mahomes that had everybody holding their breath, in this case at the last minute, again, diving and ducking just shy of the goal line on a scramble. So that was probably two of the biggest plays of the entire preseason, what could have happened and didn't happen on those plays. I'll say one thing. Patrick Mahomes really throws a nice touch pass these days, but boy, he looks kind of funny doing it. It just looks so uncomfortable to him to not try and zip the football. And while he does a very good job now with taking a little bit of zip off it, it almost looks like he's throwing the football to his little brother, like he's afraid to hurt him. But he does it well. He's developed a style of doing it that just looks so different from when he's zinging the football. It's definitely noticeable, but certainly still effective. Damian Williams had been hurt throughout much of the preseason, and he came back, caught a long touchdown pass, and looks like he'll be a weapon, as most running backs, even if they're not as good as the top running backs in the National Football League, tend to be when they're in an Andy Reid offense. So all is rosy with the offense. But if you're going to judge the fact that it's rosy with the offense off the limited time we get to see him, then you have to say that the defense really didn't show us anything under Steve Spagnuolo to give us any real hope that it's going to be significantly better. When the first-team offenses for the other teams were on the field, they kind of cruised up and down the field. Their quarterbacks looked good. It all became easy. There were scores. They could have gotten a 3-and-out in the game the other day to start, but there was a penalty. That sounds familiar now, doesn't it? And the drive continued. Now, a couple of things that did look good were Frank Clark, who had played so precious little, had a great play on a running play, and then he obviously had a sack where he completely abused a excellent left tackle in Joe Staley. Certainly he looks like the kind of weapon that Chiefs fans saw firsthand against Patrick Mahomes in the game in Seattle last year. The downsides were Juan Thornhill, who has been kind of a sensation at safety as a rookie, had one of his first kind of shaky moments in the game. He wasn't effective on several plays. The biggest concern, obviously, is the linebacker play. It's just not been good. The running game in this game for the 49ers wasn't quite as good as some of the other teams so far, so maybe that's a little bit of a good sign. But in the end, You're just going to have to wait and see and hope that the regular season brings some improvement. Or in the end, maybe the defense really doesn't even have to be that much better. Maybe even if they're just a tiny bit better. People are hoping when Steve Spagnuolo came in, Frank Clark comes in, and with the fact that everybody thought of Bob Sutton and his schemes as the bogeyman here, that the Chiefs could move up into the middle of the pack in National Football League defenses. I didn't see anything in the preseason to indicate that would happen, but it may well not be necessary. The Chiefs almost went to the Super Bowl last year with an awful defense, and they could probably make the Super Bowl with an awful defense. It's certainly possible. It's not what you want, but just minimal improvement with the way the offense looks right now is something that certainly might be enough for the Kansas City Chiefs. So not too many significant injuries. Tyrann Mathieu didn't play on Saturday night. That was supposed to be more of a precaution than anything else. And with what went on all around the National Football League on this weekend, then you certainly can count the Chiefs as lucky that they're in the position that they're in. Well, speaking of lucky and luck, that certainly is not the case for the Indianapolis Colts, as late Saturday night in a announcement, or when it popped up on your phone or your tablet or your computer, was shocking, really. I don't think anybody expected Andrew Luck to retire from football, and that is what he did. And I don't think that in another generation we would have seen this. It's just not what people did. But I think more and more football players look at the landscape of football, particularly if they've made their money, and Andrew Luck certainly has, and say, I don't think this is worth it. I mean, he has had concussions. He knows that a quarterback is a player at risk. He has another set of injury problems. He's had them all through his career, and he just said enough is enough. And he's a smart guy, and he has all kinds of things that he probably enjoys and can do. But still, back in the 1990s, I doubt you would have seen Andrew Luck retire from the game of football. But we're seeing more and more players at the age of 28, 29 decide that's enough for me. Part of it is the money they can make in the time that they are playing football, and part of it is just what they see down the road from other people who have played football and the challenges in their life that they have had because they maybe played 1, 2, 3 years too long, or maybe have already played long enough to sustain injury, but don't want to risk the potential for it getting even worse. And then, of course, the Houston Texans lost Lamar Miller to a knee injury. Now, they had traded for Duke Johnson, so they still are probably pretty good at the running back position, but it's just another reason why more and more people are thinking that these preseason games are absolutely unnecessary. I tend to think that they still really kind of are necessary, that you really should play a little practice football before you play real football, that I think more people would be injured in regular season football, but I have no way of quantifying that. And certainly, if you're just a diehard Chiefs fan who wants everything bad to happen for other teams in the AFC, then it was a very good weekend because the Colts are building a pretty darn good roster around Andrew Luck, and now they don't have him. And unless Jacoby Brissett shows us things that he has never shown before, the Colts probably drop down a gigantic notch as far as a challenger in the AFC. Certainly Vegas thought so, as they went from 15-1 to win the National Football League championship to 45-1. If you did start the weekend a little bit early, the other form of football provided some good news, and that was in the form of a Sporting Kansas City win. When they lost the game down to Orlando City a couple of weeks ago, 1-0, it looked like the season was all but over for Sporting Kansas City. And at times during the last two home games, which they end up winning in rather dramatic fashion in both cases, it looked like maybe the season was over. But they rallied to win both games in somewhat unlikely fashion against San Jose, where they were outplayed for probably 60% of the game, played very well in the other 40%. That turned out to be good for a 2-1 win with a goal in the 72nd minute. And then the other night, it looked like it was going to be a very disappointing draw in the game at Children's Mercy Park as they took on Minnesota, another team they're trying to, well, they're not going to flag them down. They're in second place in the Western Conference. But it looked like this one that Sporting pretty much played well throughout was going to be one of those frustrating soccer games where one team kind of dominates the proceedings but can't put the ball in the back of the net and settles for a draw, and a draw that would have been very telling as far as Sporting's playoff chances are concerned. But they get the 88th minute goal this time, as Eric Hurtado certainly has been an impactful player for Sporting Kansas City. He was able to get the goal, and while it's still a challenge, certainly, for Sporting Kansas City to get into the playoffs, they kept themselves breathing.